Hi there. My name's Adam Reynolds, and today I'm going to show you how to create a cycle tube network map. To begin with, the first place we go to is cyclepath.org.uk. Reason why we're going here is there are two tools that I'm particularly after, or two things I'm particularly after. This is our location, so cyclepath.org.uk/map, and on there you will find the Google Doc, which makes up the cyclepath map, which is that one, and also available for you here is a template, and this template is the one which we're going to now make a copy of. So I'm going to go there to the file, make a copy. I'm going to call it the Keynsham cycle map, and what we've first of all going to do here is we're going to clean it up a little bit because it's not what I want, so move that over there. We want to keep these for the time being, these little pieces of information. The reason why is they could be useful, particularly when you're copying and pasting, so I'm going to just move them over to the side. And then the next thing we're going to do is get used to the drawing tool. Once you get used to the drawing tool, you'll find that you can get around it quite easily. One of the things I do quite a lot is I zoom in and zoom out, and I use the hotkeys for doing this, so I don't particularly use the plus 200%. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just go in, out as needed. The other thing that is quite useful, and we won't use it initially, is inside the view there's a thing called snap to grid or snap to guidelines. When we're initially doing the work, we really don't want to be snapping to anything, so we want to turn off both. So if you now look there, neither grid or guidelines are turned on. Once we start arranging things towards the end, you do want to actually have this. Right, so the next thing we do is we bring up maps, because we want to go in and talk about various places. So in this case here, we're going to be doing Keynsham. So Keynsham is this particular village or town here. Salford is there, and even on the Bath cycle quality map, they're basically marked as a little dot, and Salford is there. So what we're trying to do here is trying to identify, from our point of view, what Keynsham and Salford are. Google Maps can be good. I also find that OpenStreetMaps is very good as well. So if you zoom out on Keynsham, I was obviously there earlier, you'll notice that it doesn't have as many areas. So for example, you've got Salford as one area, Keynsham as the other, and then if you actually go across the Bath, you'll start seeing lots of different areas available to you, like Primrose Hill, Sion Hill, Locksbrook. So what we have to do here is that we can kind of recognize that we are dealing with a smaller area, and we're actually beginning to look at the space and say, well, what assets are there inside it? So we know, for example, that the high street, which is this area here, is quite important. It's where all the retail is. That's also where the council is, that location there. And so we're trying to actually show at least some sort of the high street. Looking at Keynsham itself, it's got a river going through the middle. So it's got a division in it, and effectively it looks like a pair of lungs. And one of the key parts here is that there doesn't seem to be a really good route through to the Wellsway School, which is over here, which is very important. Yeah, so this area here, across to the other side, to the east side or west side of Keynsham. So the only route that most individuals can take is to go this way into this area onto the west side of Keynsham. Right, so let's get on with the design. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to look at, we don't no longer need that one. We're going to look at this particular location here. Now the first thing I will put in place is I'll take the high street. And then the next thing I will do, which I'm going to take one of those. No, it won't let me at that level. I'll zoom in, take it that way, and just drag that there. The next thing I'm going to do is that we're looking at this map very quickly. We've got the high street, which is there. It's very long. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually create what I call a node, a junction node. So we're going to take that one, CV, If you notice what I'm doing is that I'm usually copying rather than creating a new line. I can create a new line, but the new lines, and I can attach it to specific. Oh, it did actually do what I expected. It always takes the last version of the line. So this is by what I'm doing here. That needs to be connected to that. So you can see when they turn purple that they're actually connected. We copy and paste. We reattach that one to there. We do the same to this side there. We now move that down to 4 pixels and we change it to white. What that's telling us is, from a point of view of the system or from the map, is that this is a junction, not just one node. And the reason why we use junctions is to define areas which are very big and don't really work very well if they're just one specific dot. If you look at the Bath map, Victoria Park is a classic example. It's a very big park, lots of different connections, and these need to all be tied together very nicely. And that's exactly what we've done. The same with Whitcomb. Right, back to the map. So we're now looking at this map. We know the high street is there. We know to the east we have, let's have a look at the map. If the high street's there, we actually have the train station to the next. So let's call it Keynsham. And then the other thing we do is, what you might notice me doing as well, is I drag down the width of the text field, because unfortunately with layers in this, if I put my Keynsham over the top of this and then I deselect it and I try and select that one, I actually end up, I can't select the actual node. So we actually have to do some interesting things here. The other thing that's interesting here, for some reason that's actually a lot taller than it should be. Let's make that way, and then we can actually select that. So what we want to do here is we're going to put a node in here, move this across to here, then we want the next one along here, because what we're trying to do here now is say, well, okay, what other nodes have we got? Let's go back to the map. So you've got Keynsham there. From High Street you go south out to there. There's the new inn, which is here, so I'm going to call that, we could call it Bath Hill, I suppose. Let's call it that. So we go to here, we go south from there. Let me have a look. No, let's take it there. Let's move that there, and then let's put that, call it Bath Hill. Move that there. We've got Keynsham there. That's a train station. Let's put that in place. Let's copy that. It's not particularly why people have actually said to me, why did you choose using Google Draw? Primarily because it allows a complexity around team sharing. So I could now invite somebody in to actually come and actually start editing. So I can actually say, so you can have about 3 or 4 people, 10 people, 20 people editing your environment. It makes it quicker. It allows people to edit and do what they want. I don't think I'm going to need this anymore, but we will leave that for there for now. So what we're going to do here is we've got Bath Road coming along here. We've got Charndarg Road, which is actually a key road. The reason why it's key road is because Wellsway School hangs off it and it leads all the way down to Manor Road. So this particular road here that leads this way is very, very important. So I'm going to put Charndarg in place, or I'm probably selling it wrong, or calling it wrong. Apologies if you live there and know how it's supposed to be called. Yeah, and that goes there, and then the next thing that happens is that we have Bath Hill there, Charndarg. Charndarg, so we've got Bath Hill going to Charndarg. So Charndarg and Bath Hill, that is awful. I hate the way the text works around this thing. And then we select both of those and we move them as a joint thing to here. So we have the High Street, Bath Hill coming that way, Charndarg going there. South of Charndarg we are going to have another, we're going to call it Manor Road. Make that a little bigger. And then the other thing that we have is we have our first school which sits between them. So this one is going to be here and we call it Wells Way. Note the font on Wellsway, it's small, it doesn't have to be. It's only because at the time it was running out of space. When I ever put it in, I can make it bigger if the space on the map allows for it. Unfortunately, it's a trial and error. So, and then we put a dot there. Go in, selecting is a bit of a pain on this. We go there. So we got Wellsway, Bath Hill, Chandog. Now, the other thing we're going to do, so we're heading south this way. We are now going to look at this map again. And one of the key aspects which I highlighted was this area called Lime Kilns. So I want to put Lime Kilns on. Lime Kilns is important. So we go from that, we go across. And that is south of Bath Hill. So there'll do. We then put a text field in called Lime Kilns. We make it a better size. And then the other thing we now start doing is that we start looking, well, I keep going back to the one. I'm going to move that one there, so that's out of the way. We then want to look at the map again. We're now here, thank you. We have the Keynsham Health Centre, that's the next thing we're going to put in. So we're going east-west, or west. Yes, correctly, east-west. So we're heading along Steel Mills, St Clement's Road, and to Keynsham Health Centre. So we then want to grab a hospital symbol, drag that up. Not the best way, but this is quicker. And that we head here, and then we have that there, and we call it Keynsham Health Centre. It's almost like KFC, but not quite. It's healthier, or at least it makes you, tries to fix you from a very bad diet. Right, and then beyond that, we now get into various schools. Normally, for the cities or for large areas, you'll find that there are too many schools, and so you can end up with a scenario that we have where we've only put in Bath, we've only put the 10 age 10 plus schools in there. And the idea being is that we're trying to demonstrate independent travel and how important that is. But as we are in Keynsham, and Keynsham on a map, and this is one of these things where this can be quite useful, is you zoom out a little bit, you get the whole of Keynsham in, yeah, and then you search for schools. Now we suddenly get a lot of schools. We get Castle Primary School down the bottom there. We then get Queen's Road Methodist Church. You get St Kenya Prime, and you get St John's. Now, if we look at the communication routes that we're talking about here, we're trying to get from Castle Primary School all the way through to Queen's Road, and then all the way through here. So there are some routes that are available. So this is Albert Road going this way. I'm actually going to have a junction here for St John's Primary School, just there for Queen's Road, to go along there to Queen's Road Methodist Church. That's a preschool. That's a primary school, St Kenya's. So do I bother with the preschool? I won't bother with the preschool. I will bother with the primary schools. So we've got the primary school, St Kenya's, St John's, and Castle. So if we look at this particular map, we're not trying to be absolutely precise with this, because these are areas that are... let's do this. Drag that over. If you notice, I'm not trying to line the dots up at the moment, and there is a reason why. It's not necessary right now. We will be doing the arrangement later. I'll select those again, move that across, and then St Kenya's. Is it St Kenya or St Kenya's? St Kenya. Right, Kenya, not Kenya. And then the final one is we bring this one south, yeah, and then we call it Castle. Right, where are we now? So the map itself is beginning to look a little bit interesting. The one thing that we haven't done as well, so we've got the Keynsham train station. The next link on from Keynsham, if we're heading that way, and this is where you can come out. OpenStreetMap can be a lot better, because they have something which, if you notice here, you have a transport layer and a cycle map layer. The cycle map layer can be good. So from Keynsham, this is a train station right there. The next stop is I'm going to call it Bitton. and that allows connection to the the Bristol to Bath a cycle path. So, but that's north by the looks of it, or was it northwest? Given that we're heading that way, I am going to put that at a northeast. So, Bitten. Right. Weirdly, that also has a train station, and I will give that the honour of having one. But it's a steam railway station. But let's not worry about that. So we are, and then the final one I want to do very, very quickly is if you switch back to the standard map and you look inside Keynsham, there's another area which I think is quite important here. It's because we've actually identified Manor Road down here. Manor Road is, I still haven't put that on, have I? No, I put Manor Road on. And then what we have got here is woodland area. I do have no idea what sites K, 2A and all that type of stuff are. I'm not going to worry about those yet. What I am going to worry about though is the football club. Yeah, so I want to put that on. Now, if you look at where it is on a relation to the high street, it's just directly that way. So from a high street point of view, we'll take that and that, copy those, move them over to this side, select. Nope. RFC. And move that way. Right. Now, one of the things that we have done wrong here is, although St. John's and St. Kenyon's are there's one other school that I really do need to put on, which is the Broadlands Academy. It's a vitally big school. It's important, as is Wellsway, and we need to put those on. So that is about there. So I'll take that and put in Broadlands. So I'm not putting the full name. It's not necessary. It's one of those things. One of the other things I like to do where possible is, if when you're looking at this particular road, and we are going to look at it soon, is that the route that you take to Broadlands Academy means that the node point will end up being on St. Francis Road, which is fine, but Broadlands should be north of St. Francis Road. It's important that these things are done. So we are now at this point. We've now roughly put something together. Now what we're trying to do is say, okay, now we need to connect these. So I will take some liberties here because I need to work quite fast, is that I'm going to go with, come on you. Now this is one of the problems you might find, is that as you try and align these, that the text fields get in your way. So zoom in if you can, and this is one of the problems with the layering system in Google Draw, is that if you can make sure that you get them right now. So these two will actually line up. So I want that one going that way. Then from there, I will take this, connect that correctly to that point there, because that's going there. That's fine. The next one is that one. So I'll select that, copy and paste, move that up there. We're going north east with this one. We're going to that one. And then Chandark that's fine there. We're now heading south there, so go that way. We're going southeast to Bath Hill. You're going to let me do it or not? Yes, you are. Next one is that one. I'd like to go quickly beyond, so I'm going to just select that and that and move one here. There's a roundabout which people get to all the time, and that one is going to be, let's call it KFC, because I know there's a KFC there, and the irony of that is great. We're now in a position where we don't really want to keep this stuff that's here, because we've done what we want to do with it. We copied the pieces off it. One thing that I will do is I'll drag a road, so we actually have a road. I'm not using elevation. Elevation basically indicates the depth or the impossibility of cycling that way. I'm not too worried at the moment with this. So we know, for example, that goes there. Zoom in. So, and if anybody's wondering what I'm talking about with KFC, is this particular roundabout here, and notice there is a KFC. There's also a Waitrose there, but let's keep it common, not common, but you know what I mean. Right, so we have a road here. We're going to rotate it round 0 degrees. We're going to, because this will line, but we need to line them up first. So there's absolutely no point doing roads yet. Let's do the next one, which is that way. We go to lime kilns from here. Now, what you'll notice is that this, yes, so lime kilns is you need to now move this slightly, which I've just done, to then put the connection in, to then, and I hope I don't have to do it for every damn one of them, because it's very, very annoying. And then we need to work out Wells Way that way. Now, one of the things that we've done on the Bath map is we kind of were gradiated on we actually split each road into how good or bad individual bits are. However, a network is only as good as its as its whole. Yeah, you can't have this fantastic off-road cycle lane that then suddenly you have to join a 60-mile-per-hour road to get to the last 10 feet or 10 meters or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, the whole route has to be good. So if you want to say, because that's the last thing you want to be able to do is communicate to somebody, say, hey, this is really good. Oh, except unless you want to do X, Y, and Z, at which point it isn't very good. So try and choose the color of the junction or the route based on the worst section between those 2 points. Do not try and persuade yourself that it's all going to be all very nice and happy. The reason why is you're just kidding a user, and particularly if a parent goes out with kids or somebody who's not very confident with cycling, and you just kind of said, yeah, I know that bit's hard, but the rest of it's okay. No, that's not going to work for them. That really is just not going to work. So try and identify that the whole route has got along it at least a certain issue, and to then deal with that issue as a priority. Right, so as you can see here, we're now getting what I would call is a relatively simplistic, but it does actually kind of tie in with what you have in Keynsham. I'm just trying to work out whether or not I can possibly, there is a Bishop Sutton there, so that might be a route out that side, and out this side is Marksbury. What I'm going to do here is very quickly, just to give it some sort of context, is zoom in and that. No, you're not going to let me. Oh, how I hate thee. Let's go in even further. Right, let's bring you to the front. Let's bring you to the front. And that, copy. I try not to swear at this particular drawing package, but sometimes it really does drive you a little mad. So that one's there. We're going to take this one a little bit farther down, and that plus that all the way down to the bottom here. Marksbury. Right, and then we have got Marksbury here. So we got our connections, and the reason why I'm connecting these is one of the things that you'll notice here. Is if I move this around, the whole network moves with me. So we're now in a position where we can say, okay, we have a network. The colouring is wrong. We know, for example, fair enough that this is and we use a dirty yellow, by the way, not a normal yellow. The reason why is for printing purposes. So we take that, we know that's a 20 mile per hour, and we're looking at this and saying, look, it's motor free, share with care, or it's quiet, or has a 2 meter wide plus cycle lane. It's a busy 20 mile per hour, 30 mile per hour, 40 mile per hour. So I know for a fact that the Chandog to KFC is 30 miles an hour, as is Bath Hill there, and Lime Kilns, and going into there is fine. High Street is big enough as it is. This is actually, I believe, 20 miles per hour. Again, that's that. However, the Bitton to Keynsham route is 40 miles an hour. It does have a cycle lane or a cycle path, but it's actually a converted footpath, and it's not particularly very good. This going from the health centre through to Lime Kilns and out the other way, it actually isn't doable at the moment by legally. And this is the point, is that we're trying to look at this from a legal point of view, is there isn't actually a legal route that connects here. What you actually have is, and I'll show you very quickly, is a set of steps. So you have a crossing, and then you have some steps down. So this whole area here could do with some better development, particularly to identify this connect. And this is what you're trying to do, is you're trying to show people that there are some real problems with trying to get through. And if you actually look at our color scheme on here, we have a desired. So we would like a route here that does not currently exist. St. John's to that, we're going to go for 20 mile an hour. Down to Castle, it's residential, 20 mile per hour. And out to St. Kenya, we're going to go, that's 20 mile per hour. So we have a link down to Marksbury. I believe Marksbury will definitely be 40 miles an hour, possibly 60 miles an hour. We have Bath Hill that's there, and now what we're trying to do is you're just trying to clean it up. Now the one thing I'm going to do is and this is one of these things you can do, is the ordering. So bring to front, you'll notice that in this drawing tool you have layers, so each item sits in its own layer, and you can move the ordering in which you've been drawing it from back to front. So we're going to take this one to the top, we're going to take this one, we need to zoom in to do this properly. Yeah, we're going to take that one. No, you're going to let me do it? Thank you. Take that one to the top so it's always selectable. We're going to take that one to the top. That should be there. That should be there. As should that. Now, this is it's a kind of a cleaning up exercise that you should be doing towards the end, and I'm just saying that this is as it is at the moment. It may not be absolutely perfect, but I'm going to take that one because I know that one. Oh, that's at the front. That one isn't. I'm going to move this to the side because I know I'm going to move it in a minute, but anyway. That one's good. Does that mean that one's connected? Yeah, that is connected. It's just where it is. Right. So we're now in a situation where it doesn't look very nice. You should try. People read maps as they do books. They like horizontal, vertical. It doesn't have to be circular. You'll notice it on the Bath map that as you step out. And one of the things that I haven't mentioned is that these are all what I consider primary routes. Yeah, I haven't as yet fleshed this out with secondary routes. There is, I believe, a secondary route that goes down this way. But so what I would probably do if I was doing a secondary route, and I know it's I think it's cyclable. I would probably put a line in that one. So I would stick one there and connect it to that. Okay, and then make it a secondary route. Secondary routes are 4 pixels wide. We're not trying to say that you shouldn't do this route. We're just saying that if you're going to focus on something, yeah, then please. And I think it's actually traffic free, so we're going to put that one there. Come on. Oh, really? Zoom in even more. Come on, you can do it. There we are. And this is the problem with it. Right. So we now have that. We can bring that to the front. And we've actually identified that route. That's fine. So now we're going to turn on grid. And the reason why we snap to grid is because it suddenly changes the way the behavior of the button. So everything now should try and line up. So we're going to line up with Bath Hill. That isn't quite right. We're going to drop that down one just to make that one's there, that one's there. Drop that one down till it lines up. That one that goes down. There we are. That one we can probably go out. Right. The problem with it, there we are. They're both line up. Yeah, you have to kind of wiggle both ways. You can't just. If you go up and down, that's fine, but if you don't do left and right, you also can get into situations where, yeah, it's just not. No, that one should be up, and that one there. KFC is there. Now I don't really. We want to, because we want to get that vertical thing going. There Notice how, again, notice what I'm doing. I'm actually trying to line these up because I actually think there is potential for a, and then let me take that one. There is potential for a link between the RSC and Borderlands. Let's not worry about that now. We'll move that out there. And then the other thing that you'll notice is that what I'm trying to do here, so you can see it, there's a chessboard type effect behind the actual drawing, and you'll notice here that the lines I'm trying to get to are usually at using that chessboard to as guiding lines for the angles I'm trying to achieve. You'll see that throughout, even here. That one works quite well. This one doesn't, and probably needs to be moved over slightly, which indicates that one's still good. That one is better there. I could have moved them down, but there we are. So there's a little bit of tidy up to be done. I don't mind putting words over the top of junctions. If you have the space, put them beside it, but it doesn't make much difference. Make sure that, as I said, schools line up on the right side, and then castles as well, but schools particularly. You got Keynsham station there, which is great. High Street is there. RSC is there, and beyond RSC is Brislington, so we could put that in, but I don't want to right now. And then the other thing that you'll notice is that from a map point of view, it's all a little bit off center. So grab the map and then just move it to your location choice. Yeah. So I've now centered it. So that is my first pass at Google Maps, and I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much. Good luck with yours.